Hey guys, I'm Joanne and you are listening to The Raw Reality. In this episode, I'm going to talk about a cease and desist letter from my sister and her husband. I know, right? This is insane. I want to say that my opinions matter throughout this entire podcast, so let's dive in. It was an alleged order demanding that I cease and desist from publishing false and defamatory statements in my family podcast video. It also asked me to post an apology as if what I mentioned was entirely untrue. They must be out of their minds. This shows me the lengths people will go to silence people. It seems they're using this letter as proof to others, implying that I made false statements to demonstrate their innocence. What's even more outrageous are their claims of having these mental or personal issues which they falsely attributed to me. This is the most deceitful thing someone can do. But just remember, truth is a defense to defamation. Everything happening in the world right now, speaking up is happening for a reason. It's about speaking up for what is right and bringing the truth to light. I'm going to address a few important matters that need to be heard this time. This letter claimed that I made false statements about my sister texting her husband to go kill himself. Well, these screenshots don't look fake to me. I have these blurred because it's sensitive. So just to be clear, in my first podcast, I was reading directly from their text messages of what my sister said and how he responded and vented to and how the other person responded. So who would even make up stuff like this and accuse me of this wasn't true? This is such an embarrassment. Not only they're hiding from the lies, but have the audacity to even have this order written up is crazy to me. People can delete their past and play the victim, but people cannot hide from the truth. Technology is so powerful. A cell phone forensic investigator can easily confirm the authenticity of these text messages. Let's see who's actually fake. The letter further stated that my husband made remarks asking about my dad's funeral purchasing a burial plot, while my siblings and I had previously discussed my dad's wishes, and my husband's remarks has caused distress on my dad. This is so untrue, as this purchasing question was never ever mentioned from my dad, as it was never brought up to him. He didn't mention anything about it. And secondly, this is so misleading that my husband has never mentioned anything about purchasing a funeral plot, as it's impossible to need a burial plot for cremation. Cremation was his wishes. Anyways, I went directly to the source to find out behind the lies being told by my sister. The direct source is my dad. While I have this documented, I can confirm that my dad has never mentioned anything negative or issues about my husband when he spoke to my sister, because it never existed. The only thing my dad shared to my sister was my husband brought up about the funeral arrangement question, and he didn't want to discuss further due to superstitious belief. I also inquired about his well-being, and I can confirm that he was never upset or distressed, contrary to what this letter claims. I also spoke with my mom privately at another time. I can confirm the same information of what my dad had only shared to my sister, and my mom's opinion about my husband, in which negative history was never existed. Again, I have everything documented, so the claims made by my sister do not align with what my dad actually stated. So this clearly proving that my husband has been falsely accused by my sister. The letter further claimed that the reason my sister's husband texted my husband was due to quote-unquote history of negative behavior. This letter's accusation of my husband having a history of negative behavior seems to imply a long-standing pattern is simply untrue, as there's no such long history behavior exists by my husband with any family members or anybody. There's no reason for her husband to reach out, and there's also no long communication between my sister's husband with my dad or my husband. The letter has completely misrepresented my husband's character, being called having a history of negative behavior. A lot of people knows my husband, and for being called as having a long history of negative behavior is all lies. This is such an embarrassment, finding excuses to hide. My husband has been with me most of my family events and seen so much dramas in the past 14 years. Meaningful things were said by my sister, and yes, there are witnesses. It is true that my sister spoke up about her husband's manhood size, and other times she stated that she was not in love until after she got married. My husband and siblings were there. To the siblings who are currently on her side, they can act like nothing happened, but we all know the truth. When I first spoke out in my family drama podcast, some people requested me to take it down, but they has never once said I was spreading lies or spreading false statements about anything. People know how my sister is, and I speak the truth the way I see it. Anyways, the letter further claimed that I falsely accused them of mocking my husband's disability, that they wouldn't do such a thing because they have a disability child themselves. Well, isn't this text message here from her husband mocking my husband, saying in person you can barely walk? This is undeniably mocking. This whole letter completely overlooked my husband being threatened by my sister's husband through text messages, and it only referred as a heated message exchange, and then it quickly moved on to other topics as if the threats and mocking didn't even matter. FYI, my husband had a stroke in 2014, and the first mocking occurred in 2021 by my sisters at my uncle's house in front of people, which I will get into later. My sister did not have a disability until 2023 when she announced on social media. So she didn't even know she would soon have a disability child in the family. So for them to say, oh, they wouldn't do such a thing to mock disability is beyond crazy to me. I'll tell you what's crazy, what happened to me on February 2021 by my sister. We attended to our grandma's viewing, as you can see the picture here. We then went to my uncle's house to spend time with everybody who was there. There's a photo showing who was there, and of course I blur out all the faces except mine. There's more people, but I'm showing this for now. And here I am cheering with a water bottle since I did not drink that day due to battling my own health issues. I was sober the entire day and I am aware of my surroundings. Anyways, later that night I walked into one of the rooms that people were hanging out. My sister called me out, starting drama with me out of the blue. It clearly shows I was being talked about prior to me walking in. And yes, my husband was mocked about his disability during the arguments by my sister and bitching at me while witnesses were just there watching my sister speaking out all kind of things about my husband, about me, about my relationship, saying I'm not happy, and a bunch of things. I know who was in the room and no one cannot lie about that. I won't mention names, but there were cousins, siblings, and in-law in the room. Eventually, the situation then escalated and spilled into the living room, where more people, including my aunts, uncles, and younger cousins, witnessed my sister's behavior, talking negative about my husband, about me, my relationship, telling me I'm not happy, and so much crap. My sister painted a negative picture of my husband and I, which in my opinion has caused people to judge us to this day. I was publicly humiliated by my sister trying to ruin and criticize my relationship in front of large family. This was not the first time my sister tried to ruin my relationship. She successfully ruined my prior relationship with my ex, who was my sister's ex-best friend at the time. That tells a lot, right? Well, something happened between them two, and then my sister forced me to pick family or boyfriend. The boyfriend and I had no issues to be broken up, but I was forced to pick. So I picked family because I never speak up for myself, and I always let people run over me a lot back then. I let family run over me, like how I was forced to shave my head bald in middle school year because my hair was too thick and nappy. I was a different child in the family. I remember going to middle school with a beanie because my head was shaved. Anyways, yeah, I was a different child in the family. My childhood wasn't great behind closed doors. Anyways, my husband has been telling me for many years that he sensed my sister didn't like him, and I brushed it off. It's that type of vibe that isn't vibing, and my husband has a gift that he can tell who has bad intentions or not. I never believed him about my sister until the very night at my uncle's house. The drama at my uncle's house became too much where I had to leave. My sober cousin drove me home that night as I didn't come with a vehicle. Everyone who was there that night witnessed my sister behavior, what went down, and no one can deny that. Here's the most important part of the story. What happened the day after my sister caused drama at my uncle's house? My sister texted me saying she remembered everything what she said and was true to her words because she was blunt like that. We both texted back and forth, long conversation filled with tons of messages, including about my husband was being mocked. I literally laid everything out to my sister, confronting her of all the messed up things she had done to other people and myself in the past. In the end, my sister realized it, what to work on herself, and apologized. I forgave her and moved on. I haven't set my foot in my uncle's house again because it's just that night at my uncle's house has an evil memory of my sister's drama, which is why I am addressing it now. It resurfaced my memories after my sister's husband text to my husband that reminded me of how my sister talked to me and treated me. And in my opinion, that made me think that my sister is probably involved behind her husband's text, whether she's next to him or far away. My sister is so fake, just like the cease and desist letter. All of the text messages I had with my sister back in 2021, I screenshotted and shared to a couple people as I was venting and how I confronted my sister with all the crap that she's done to me and people. I could have posted all the screenshots, but I chose not to. My sister knows what was discussed, and I'm going to leave it as that. If she wants to prove her innocence claiming that I'm spreading false statements, then bring it on. Once again, truth is the defense to defamation, and we won't let anyone bully us. Again, a cell phone forensic investigator could easily verify the authenticity of these messages that would bring all the truth to light and verify all the messed up stuff that she's done that was mentioned in the text messages, even the dirty little secrets. My sister's drama at my uncle's house has damaged my husband and I relationship, but look at where we are today. We managed to get through it. As I told myself, I ain't letting my sister ruin my relationship again like how she did with my ex. So before anyone out there spreading lies about my husband and I or other people, just remember truth is a defense. This whole world is so wicked that even your own family can treat you bad. There will be people try to ruin your relationship, friends, family, business, whoever relationship. Just know that truth will always come back. Karma is what goes around comes around. When you destroy someone's life with lies, take it as a loan because it will come back at you with interest. Anyways, back to my story. Then the next day was my grandma's funeral. My husband and and I have missed the beginning part of it because we had to take care of the responsibility that was given to us. We're in charge with a light lunch. The restaurant was behind schedule while waiting to pick up the 130 Vietnamese banh mi sandwiches. During the 30-minute drive, I had to put 130 banh mi sandwiches, 130 bottles of waters and napkins into individually lunch bag and stapling the bag together per my uncle's request. It was during COVID. Here's a picture of how crazy it looks. After my grandma's funeral service, everyone returned to my parents' house to eat and spend time, except for my husband, because obviously my sister's crazy drama that she created in front of everybody. Everyone at my parents' house mostly had their significant others with missing minds. I didn't want to go back to my parents' house after the funeral because my husband didn't go, and I showed up just to show face. In my opinion, I believe that my husband and I were bullied with this cease and desist letter to hide truth about themselves. Again, it seems like they are using it as proof to imply that we made false statements while positioning themselves as victims. There are plenty of evidences and witnesses. In particular, a cell phone forensic analysis or investigator can confirm the authenticity of all the long documented messages conversation I had with my sister back in 2021, with me confronting her with all the messed up things that she's done, acknowledging it, and also verify the text messaging that she told her husband to kill himself and how he vented to another. They can play the victims, but we know the truth behind this embarrassing cease and desist letter. In my opinion, this letter was poorly written, which has misleading information, false accusations against my husband and I. I know they will likely be silenced because they're guilty 100%, and ain't no one dumb enough to spend money on dumb shit. They want an apology for what? I apologize for speaking the truth while they are spreading false statements about my husband and I and why we don't get along with family members. I don't care who watches this video. I don't care what negative things people have to say or whose side they're on. My podcast was created to talk about experiences, about life, about anything I want to talk about as long as it's the truth. Am I wrong to talk about family drama on my podcast? Is it embarrassing? In my opinion, I am simply sharing my experiences and I have the right to talk about them. There may be listeners going through similar situations who can understand where I'm coming from. Yeah, it is embarrassing to deal with people who treat others this way, especially when you haven't done anything wrong or intentionally hurt anyone. I should be the one to say I don't need people who always think they're right and play the victim. I'm glad God is removing people from our lives because he heard conversations that we didn't hear. I have more things to say regarding what was said in this bogus letter, but this podcast is getting too long and I wanted to point out the obvious important matters first. I didn't want my video to be long like James Charles pulling out all the receipt screenshots on Tati when she was spreading lies about him. Anyone remember that? That's crazy. Anyways, I wanted to share a Bible verse like I normally do at the end. 1 John 3 verse 7 through 10. Dear children, don't let anyone deceive you about this. When people do what is right, it shows what they are righteous, even as Christ is righteous. When people keep on sinning, it shows that they belong to the devil, who has been sinning since the beginning. But the Son of God came to destroy the works of the devil. Those who have been born into God's family do not make a practice of sinning because God's life is in them. So they can't keep on sinning because they are children of God. Now we can tell who are children of God and who are children of the devil. Anyone who does not live righteously and does not love other believers does not belong to God. Well, that's all for today. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll talk to you until my next episode. Bye.